Okay. Well, we're going to start this because the recording has already started. Let's see, did I start? Yes, I did. I started. Okay, at least I got the recording. Okay. Everybody's going to refresh in the chat room. And there we go. So, welcome to Angel Meadows. This is the way things start around here. I will eventually get this really down packed, and my amazing wizard of IntuiTalks will not have to worry about cutting out the first 15 minutes of my show because it's nothing but me babbling to myself. And I think we can be heard into the chat room, and if not, well, they all gonna just have to keep refreshing until everybody gets it right. Okay, good. Yay! All right, everybody, this is Angel Meadows. This is the crazy house that I call my home away from home. My guests this evening are Michael, Christopher, and LJ. Dawn?
Dawn, you just call me LJ.
Okay, LJ. Okay. Yay, Juanita hears us. Hopefully everybody else hears us. I did a good job this time. Okay. All right, well, I've had Michael on my show once before, and as I always say, ladies first. So, LJ, you want to tell everybody who doesn't know you a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So I go by LJ the Medium. I'm also a Reiki practitioner, and I'm an interfaith minister. So for those of you that don't know me, hello, and thank you again for having me here tonight.
Well, we're going to have a fun day. And as I said, if it doesn't go well, it's all Michael's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's always his fault.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, you were a guest on another one of my shows, so this group of people will not get to know you, but which is a quick mention for the people who are in the chat room who are under the name of guest. If you want to be able to join in on the chat, in the chat room, you have to sign in with a name. So go back out, pop in a name, and come back in. And people with cell phones, which there's 2 of, you won't be able to chat, but you'll be able to hear us. Okay, Michael, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Wow, where to begin? Just real quick, I mean, I've only really been doing the mediumship work for probably just, a little under 3 years now. It all started, right around the time of my sister's death. Preceding that, I had the kidney transplant back in 2000. So a combination of those 2 things, I think, really is where this all started for me. So yeah, it happened really quick. I've, been out there working with it a little bit. I don't want to talk too much.
Well, there's a first. Okay. All right. So I have a couple of questions, and but you know how I work. LJ, you don't. I'm kind of like a cat. If I see something shiny, I might just kind of go off track. But we do have good time and have fun. Oh, and Vanessa says that you babble on and on.
Oh, I know.
And on and on. And okay, I'm not adding the extra. I think she was talking about Michael because she said he. LJ does not. We ladies do not babble. Michael, get that right. Okay.
Oh, give it a second.
Yes, Scott, you do babble, but you don't babble in text right now. All right. Michael, there was something, when I went to their Facebook page, there was the picture on your Facebook page. Okay. And I know this is way out in left field right now, but the voices beyond the veil. Why do I see that on a book title?
You and probably every medium I've talked with always comes up. I'm going to be writing a book. And I always say when I get the motivation to do it, and I got to share a story too, because this is probably just a few months back. I was leaving work one evening, and I went to turn on the radio, and my sister, who has passed, literally, I heard it loud and clear. She says, "Leave it off." And I'm like, okay. And I was like, why? She says, because we're writing a book. I was like, what do you mean we're writing a book? She goes, me, you, and your 2 brothers, because I have 2 brothers that have passed too. So I'm like, really? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay. She goes, you want to know what it's like. You're always asking me what it's like over here. Well, I'm going to tell you. So I'm like, okay. And I left it at that. So I guess it's going to happen here sooner or later.
Yeah, because like I said, I saw the title on your Facebook profile, and I was like, that's a book. Why is the book? And I did a Google search because, I thought, well, maybe since the last time we spoke, you wrote a book, and there is no book with that title. So that's, I'm guessing you're going to be writing a book. And since sisters are always right, I guess you're going to be doing what your sister. The
Oh
brothers
yeah,
too,
she'll be relentless about it. So I think it's going to happen.
Good. Scott, you got to hear my dulcet tones. Aren't you very happy? All right. Okay, so, Michael, you had a kidney transplant.
Yes.
I'll explain that. Oh, look. Hello, Mr. Glenn. Getting busy in the chat room today. Explain a little bit about that. What happened?
Well, I was Air Force. I retired after 20 years in the military, but about my halfway point, so right around 10 years, I was diagnosed with a type of kidney disease. And at that point, when they caught it, it was fairly progressed. So the outlook was pretty grim. I mean, they told me right from the beginning that, seeing where they caught it, how far it was already along, how much damage had been done, it was a pretty good chance that it would lead to failure someday. So for 10 years, luckily I got 10 years, before they did quit, and it was about a year after I retired from the Air Force, they quit. Luckily, I had my family tested, my brother actually tested, and matched, and we got to about 2 weeks prior to the surgery, ended up getting a staph infection, which turned MRSA. So the transplant teams, they called off the surgery, said, no, he can't donate, none of it's a MRSA infection, he's not eligible anymore. So, which left me on dialysis. I had been on dialysis for 6 months. So that was a pretty big blow right there. But luckily, an Air Force friend of mine stepped up. I heard he had heard what happened and probably reached out about 2 weeks after that. And I had thought he was just curious of what was going on, and he said he wanted to donate. And it just, it struck me as, I was like, what? He was stationed in Mississippi at the time, so we were literally across the country. I was in North Dakota, he was in Mississippi. But, and still active duty military. But, long story short, it worked out. We had the transplant December 7th of 2010, and knock on wood, that's me hitting my head right now. It's been good. It's been really good. And actually that's where, we'll probably end up talking about it anyway, but LJ's on the other side of that coin.
I know. But there's something in that story that you left out. You had a conversation with God. So if everybody gets to go to Michael's website, you'll know what I'm talking about. But you had a conversation. You spoke to God. You gave him an ultimatum.
I literally sat, because literally when I found out, actually it was when I found out, the day that I found out that my kidneys died or were failing, I actually chose initially to just go. I didn't want to do dialysis. I didn't want to seek a transplant. To me, it was easier to just die rather than go through what I was about to go through, waiting, not knowing what was going to be my future. Living scared me more than dying. And it was probably about 2 days after that I don't know who I was talking to, if I was just whoever was listening, but I said, look, if I'm supposed to be around, this needs to happen, and I told my wife, I said, I will do dialysis, but I said, I will not stay on dialysis for longer than a year. If I don't find something within a year, I'm just going to let nature take its course. And that's literally when my friend Stan reached out to me. So yeah, that was a pretty prominent moment. And looking back, it was definitely a plan because of what's, unfolded since that day. So yeah, it was pretty significant.
Yeah. Now, LJ, you had a spinal injury. Now tell me a little bit about the spinal injury.
Well, not to go into too much detail, but I had an accident, just a very unexpected. My life changed within 30 seconds at work. I had just come back from my honeymoon, so I wasn't even married 2 weeks. And it was an incident, and one spine surgery just kind of led to another. And I've had a total of 3 spine surgeries. I just had issues with each one, from herniated discs to fractures to you name it. I had a broken back. I was in a wheelchair for 2 years. I had to learn to walk again, and something that, we just, you wake up one day and you don't even realize that, something can just change it and turn it all upside down within seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you were in 2018, and I jumped. Get used to that. In 2018, you were diagnosed with a rare condition?
Yeah, so what happened was I had several spine surgeries, and with each spine surgery, I had other health issues that came along with it, including something called SMA syndrome, which was last year, which was a disorder of my intestines. And when I found that out, I also found out I had nutcracker syndrome, which is also another rare condition, but that had to do with compression of the left renal vein. So last year I decided I had no choice but to have surgery in November. And unfortunately that also failed. I just haven't had much luck with surgeries. So that failed, and I found out that I needed to have a nephrectomy. So I decided to ask the doctor, if I have to have a nephrectomy which is removal of the kidney, is it possible for me to donate it? Mm-hmm. So I was the first patient with nutcracker syndrome at New York Presbyterian Hospital to actually go forward with the living donor test. And I passed because the kidney itself was functioning and working great, but it was the kidney vein that wasn't. So I was able to kind of turn it into a positive situation. I'm happy to say that I'm doing well, and my kidney was donated to a 27-year-old girl who was on dialysis for 7 years.
Very nice. See, Michael, 7 years. That's nothing. But
I know. That's a brave person right there.
Yeah. So the both of you, first off, thank you very much. You guys, just being here, have shown a lot of people that there's still a lot of life and work to do with what is given to us or what we have. My husband is on kidney dialysis, so I know where you guys are at in that respect. But I'm making sure he's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So we're good there. But now, how did you two guys get together? I have a feeling there's a very interesting story there. LJ.
It's actually a really funny story, but I'm going to let Michael tell it.
What?
Yeah, you're going to tell it. I think
they'd rather... All right.
No doubt.
She'll end up jumping in and cut me off here. Give it a second.
Probably.
Funny enough, we both belong to this mediumship development circle, but we had never actually gone in and participated for as long as we both had been part of that group. And we were just talking about this before because we were trying to figure out what the date was, and we figured it was 2 weeks after LJ had donated her kidney. So that puts it, we figured, the end of April, early May. So we had both gotten the invitation to join this circle that night, development circle. Mm-hmm. And, I hem and hawed for probably a half hour. I was like, I don't really feel like doing this tonight. But I should. So back and forth, literally up to about 5 minutes before it was beginning. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go in. So I did. And, find out later, LJ had the same thoughts. She didn't really want to be there, but did, and decided at the last minute to join in. So we get in there and we start talking. And since nobody really knew each other, we started, telling our stories. And, I had mentioned the kidney transplant and, my sister and how the mediumship all started. And then I think LJ jumped in at that point, either asked me or told everybody how she had just donated. And I think you mentioned, LJ, that you just kept saying that I looked familiar.
Yeah,
like we had met somewhere.
Yeah.
And, so we start this thing, the readings, and LJ actually brought through my brother. So, channeled him for a little bit, and I think it was afterwards we decided just to talk because it was so interesting. Here we had both been through something so similar. Here we are, two sides of the coin. She was a donor, I'm a recipient. And, it was probably a day later, it just really struck me as like, oh my God, what the heck are the chances of two evidential mediums who don't know each other, have never met, going into this chat room or, circle, and find out that one's a kidney donor, I'm a recipient, and it was just like, all right, this is too much to be coincidental. Something is at work here, and just the fact that we didn't really know each other, but now it's only been a few months and it feels like we've known each other forever.
Oh yeah.
So we decided one night, let's do our own training circle, or, let's do readings. So we created this group, and we just did, I think, a small group of 4 people. So LJ and I could see how we work together. So we did it, and to me, it was great. I mean, there was 4 people, they all got readings. But what really got my attention was how well we worked together, doing the readings. And then, do you want to jump in, LJ, and tell some of it?
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a great job. But yeah, it was just that one night. I was just recovering from surgery, so I just felt like I was out of the loop with mediumship. So I was like, I think it was a Friday night or something. So I'm like, it wasn't really much going on. I was recovering. I wasn't anywhere like ready to go out yet. So I ended up signing on, and there was Michael, and I said, wow, I really feel like I know you from somewhere. And we just started talking, and I had just said, bear with me as I give readings tonight because I just donated my kidney not too long ago, so I'm recovering. And I ended up bringing through Michael's brother. It was awesome, and we just felt like we had a chat afterwards. So we really connected. I remember, I think we talked for I think it was the next day, Michael. I think we started talking for a while, just sharing our life story, because we were just like, oh my God, how can 2 people, go through all of this? But it was no coincidence, it was that we were meant to meet. And after that, like you said, we did a practice group, and we just had great energy and doing readings together. So we decided, we should maybe be working together. Maybe we can do more. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah. We kind of decided that, we're doing this, an event tomorrow night, via Zoom. We're doing readings, $25 per person, but the funds, a good portion of it's going to the National Kidney Foundation.
Right.
So like I mentioned, we have these ideas, and we're just like, again, just reflecting on what has happened, just, again, the chances of 2 people who have been through what we've been through, almost, 2 sides of the coin I've mentioned. But we just have these ideas that we can help people by not only bringing messages from people that have crossed, but also raising awareness for, organ donation. I don't know if I remember the last time I was on, Darlene, but, I also lost 2 brothers to cystic fibrosis. My one brother didn't make it to transplant, and my other brother had 2 before he passed. So transplants in my family is, unfortunately, it's common. It's strange to say that, but it's like we've been through it. We've been through so much as a family, and just again, LJ and I, it just feels right. There's again that purpose, why we met, the circumstances, and just how many people we can reach out and help by doing what we do. Fundraisers, we can reach out and help people.
Yeah.
Right. And now we've actually just recently had a couple people reach out to us because there's people all over who are, unfortunately on dialysis or need a kidney, and they have no idea where to start. So just being out there and knowing that he's, they kind of get both ends. If someone needs to talk to someone who's looking for a kidney, that would be the perfect person. Michael's the perfect person to talk to. And if I can be of help to talk to people about being a living donor, because there's a lot of myths out there. And I know it might sound frightening. Oh my God, you're giving away an organ, but life is short, and we are more than capable of giving somebody a second chance and giving them more time here.
Exactly. Well, okay, for anybody who's in the chat room, you can ask pretty much any question. If I don't like it, I won't ask it. No, I'm kidding. But just if you can, because I'm this little thing that sees something shiny and I turn away. So if I miss your question, it's not your boy. If I miss your question, it's not because I'm doing it on purpose, because, Michael was bugging me. Juanita in the chat room. Juanita in the chat room says, why did you decide to take up the mediumship path?
I think that was a question for LJ, right? Because we want to hear LJ talk a lot more.
I think we could both.
You can both
answer it. Yeah, we could both answer it.
We'll start
why did I decide to take up this?
We'll start with LJ because I said we'll start with LJ because Michael can't seem to hush.
You're talking more than me tonight, Michael. I think this is a little weird.
All right, I'm gonna zip my lip right now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Why did I decide to take up this medium path? I don't really think that I chose this path. I think it was chosen for me, because I had felt, spirit from a really young age. I had no idea what it was at the time. But once I did realize what it was and taking classes and learning how to develop it, I just felt, in my soul that this was, my purpose. So why do I continue with it? It's so healing and so amazing. I just can't see my life any other way. Just communicating with spirit, knowing that our loved ones are still there, knowing that I can bring, healing messages from the other side to everyone here. It's just, I couldn't figure out a reason why not to do it. So I feel like it was chosen for me. I just feel like I had to go through a lot of obstacles and challenges to actually find my way here.
Michael?
Yeah, for me,
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk now. Actually, at the beginning, there was several times where I just didn't want to, but it's just the way this all came about and just, how quickly things happened for me. I don't think I could not do this. I think just, if I just look at my own family, 2 brothers and a sister that have passed, I know how important it was before I could do any of this or realized I could do this, how much I wanted to hear from them, So, given that, how could I not do this when I have this ability, I don't think I could, there's no going back. There really isn't. I've seen it too many times, just the simplest message, what that does for somebody, and yeah, there's definitely no going back. Once you see that look in somebody's eye, that, you brought them some relief or some hope, there's nothing better.
Well, one of the things I call it is you brought them healing. So that's why I consider us all healers, because one way or another we're healing, whether it's through Reiki, whether it's through mediumship, psychic abilities, you're healing somebody, whether it's their heart or their physical. So, yeah, I agree with that one. Eric, hopefully, Juanita, that answered your question. Eric in the chat room, who did it all in capitals. Good boy, Eric.
Yeah.
Do you believe Spirit paired you together as you are possibly the only other person that understands what the other is going through and has the empathy to deal with the emotions?
I read this because I'm looking at the question. I've been staring at that question. I could not agree more. Here, the 2 of us, like LJ said, she has been through the donor part of it. I've been through the other end, and, living with knowing that, you're facing your mortality, and what that does to you emotionally, physically, to get that strength, from my side of it, to just keep going, to stay positive, and then what LJ's been through, take away the kidney part, everything else she's been through. But just, putting those 2 together and just, again, what is the Vegas odds of us meeting, who have been through what we've been through? The kidney, we'll just focus on the kidney for now and being mediums. And it is. Everything has come together so fast between the 2 of us. And, I definitely believe somebody is definitely pushed us to meet. And I think there is a big plan, out there for us. There's definitely work for us to be doing. I mean, we feel it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, 100%. I have to jump in there because I do have to say, I mean, we were definitely pushed together because it was a place where we both weren't even planning on attending that night. I was part of the group but never attended a circle, and I know, Michael, we had talked about that. You were not part of a circle either, so what are the chances on that particular night, to be in that group? So I definitely feel we were pushed together, and just being that we both understand where we both were. And just like you said, Michael, whether it was the spine issues or you've had a lot of grieving in your life, it was just that we were definitely pushed together, because I think there's just the types of pain that we both experience, and we can definitely have compassion for each other.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it, the first time you guys actually met physically, LJ, you channeled his brother. You brought a message from his brother. So that just goes to prove that, Spirit does work in mysterious ways, but Spirit was working with it because you recognized him from somewhere, someplace. Have you ever figured out where it was? Or do you think it's just the idea that his brother was with you? Because I've been around enough people to see that things happen for a reason. We get to meet the people we get to meet. There's always a reason for it. You were sort of poked and prodded and cajoled into going, both of you. And LJ was because his brother knew that he was going to be there. So he made sure that you could be there, and you were the channel for him to connect with his brother again.
Oh, and right. Seeing my brother's from New York, and he's a wise ass still, even in spirit. So I'm sure he was instantly looked at LJ and go, oh yeah, I'm talking to her.
Oh yeah, that's a boy.
She understands my language.
I'm glad he did talk to me. So yeah, I don't know if it was his brother that made him look familiar. It's possible Michael and I go back, who knows when, maybe another lifetime. But there's just a familiar, I can't even say the word, but definitely similarities there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Hope that helps. That answered your question, Eric. I know you always have onion questions for me. Becky Wilson Richard, how do you help people, whose family has committed suicide, come to terms with it? She is a medium, and I am a medium, and I have so many people ask me about their families who have done this. Are they in hell? Naturally, they're not, but wanting to see how you would help them. So how do you, if somebody comes to you and says, my so-and-so committed suicide?
Well, I've had a lot of suicides as far as readings. Hope you didn't mind me just jumping in there, LJ.
No, go for it.
No, go for it. Go
for it. Unfortunately,
me,
yes.
I'll speak if I need to.
Yeah, I know. I've had quite a few people come to me. Of course, before the reading, I have no idea, about these, anybody that comes to me for a reading. So I don't find out until the spirit comes through and starts talking. First and foremost, mediums will never replace the loss of a loved one. We're at a disadvantage right from the start, because anything we say, it's never going to be enough, and I understand that. But what I hope to do with this work, especially, in that, is maybe try to answer some questions on why, and if the person wants to tell me why, I relay it. And, I've been fortunate to, the few that I've done, they've explained why. So at least it gave the person that I was talking with answers that they didn't have before that, time that we got to talk. Hell, that's religion, and me, and this is just me, my words, my opinion. I separate religion from this. I just keep it as it is what it is. And based on my experience and the readings that I've done, I've never had a spirit talk about being in hell. From what I've read over years of reading about case studies, nobody's punished. You're your own judge on the other side. You go through life lessons, you learn. So they get to experience what they did to people here. You know, how did that leave them feeling? They get to feel that over there, so they learn from that experience. So it isn't a punishment. They just get to see both sides of their actions, and they heal from that on that side, and then they go on. So, you know, to me, you know, again, going back to the families and the people left behind, I mean, you know, the best we can do as mediums is just hopefully give them answers to help them heal. You know, hopefully they babble on and that makes sense in some way.
Yes, it did. LJ, what's your take on that?
No, I think Michael said that perfect. I think he did a great explanation of that. I think, you know, I do get suicides. I don't get them as often. I know Michael and I had spoken about it, and he gets a lot of them. But I just feel that they come through. Then I agree with him as far as hell, you know, being religion. I don't believe that. I do feel that they come back and, you know, that they're saying that they are healed and they always have a positive, uplifting message, or they've learned something on the other side. And it's just, you know, my job when they come to me is just to paint, you know, their life the way they want me to. They want me to share their story of what they experienced here, and they usually come back and say what they're doing on the other side. So I just feel that, you know, Michael did a great job of explaining that, but that's basically, you know, we don't choose who comes through. And, you know, it's very difficult when suicides do come through, but the best is just to, when we bring them through, just to show that they're still very much with us and they're still here.
Very true. I'm going to add my 2 cents on that. Being raised Catholic, yes, we were taught about hell, and that if you committed suicide, you would be in eternal damnation, and you would never be at rest, yada, 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 yada. There's a lot about the Catholic religion that I don't agree, and I question. Even as a child, I did. And as Michael said, we make our own hell. Even to some people are living from a past life, are living in their own hell in this life. So it just depends on what your version of hell is. Mine is snow covered. But
Yeah.
I think I used to believe that suicide was a very selfish thing, because people didn't think about who they left behind and the pain that the people left behind would go through. It has touched my family, so I understand it a little bit. But I've learned that it's not. It's just that the people, for whatever reason, couldn't deal with what they were dealing with here. And when we make our life choices before we come over, that may have been one of their exit ways out. You know, that they got to a point where, you know, that's it, I'm done. I can't, you know, I've learned what I need to learn. I've done what I need to done. Even though we that are left behind don't believe that, there are people, you know, that's, you know, it's their choice. It's their way of doing it. And maybe it's their lesson that they have to learn. So, but that's my 2 cents on that one. Okay. Okay,
there was
Debbie,
a question for LJ.
Yeah, Debbie in the chat room says she's really looking forward to you guys tomorrow. So yes, anybody who is not
thank you, Deb.
going,
we'll see you tomorrow night. Yeah, we're very excited for tomorrow night.
And it is a fundraiser, so the money that you do pay a good part of it goes to the Kidney Foundation.
That's correct, yeah.
All right, so Debbie in the chat room says, "Hey LJ, can you see people's spirit guides? And if so, are you able to see mine? And do you know the name of my spirit guide? Thanks, Deb. Once upon a hot flash." Oh, Lord, love that hashtag.
Oh, hey, Deb. Do I see people's spirit guides? I honestly see loved ones. I cannot say that I've seen spirit guides. Usually who I get that's coming through is usually a family member, a neighbor, or somebody like that. So if you'd like to, I wouldn't mind trying sometime if you want to sit with me and seeing if I can bring through your spirit guides. But most of my readings are all of past loved ones. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry. Michael,
No,
can you see spirit guides, if you don't mind me asking? Or just loved ones?
Well, no, I do have I don't want to call it a theory, but to me, spirit guides, okay, you know, that's a very common question. People want to know who their guides are, how to connect with them. And I think it's when I first took one class, it was put to me this way, and it sunk in and makes sense to me. that a person's spirit guides, okay, it's a very personal thing. I think it's a very, personal thing between that individual and their guides. And I don't like to interject what I may feel that guide is. And the reason is because of this. If I tell you, I see, a male and his name is Bob, well, now that's in your head. So I just gave you this, impression of who this person is. I may be wrong, So the way what I like to tell people is just literally sit quiet by yourself, close your eyes. You don't have to call it a meditation, and it doesn't have to last long, but literally just close your eyes and ask your spirit guide to give you a sign. The biggest mistake people make is they dismiss it. And I'll give you an example. I was in a development class when I first started, and one of the exercises was to meet, we had to reach out, I think it was once a week, to meet a different guide. So say our healer guide, our joker, if you want to, joy guide, and a couple other ones. So literally, when I was doing the exercise for my joy guide, so I sat in this meditation, which was literally about 15 minutes, and during the exercise, at one point, you're just envisioning like you're sitting in a chair and then there's an empty chair sitting next to you. So you're being led through this meditation, and at one point you're asked, okay, in 3 seconds your joy guide will present. So I'm sitting there, 3 seconds go by, I look over to my left, and Robin Williams is sitting in the chair. Now Robin, of course, had passed. So I'm looking at it going, are you shitting me? Robin Williams, And I was like, okay, because that was the thing. It's like, just go with it. And come to find out, Robin Williams loves this kind of work. And he has popped into several people, just to chat. I've talked to other mediums that Robin Williams has presented himself. So, I could have easily dismissed that and said, no, can't be Robin Williams. Is he my full-time joy guide? I doubt it. But at that moment, that's who visited me. So, I went with it. And now with my master guide, and I'll try to be brief, that was really, because it required me to go deep in meditation. So I did. And when I met my master guide, I felt a female energy, and it wasn't a human form. It was a light being, and it was basically just an orb, a purple orb. So that's what it is. My guide, master guide, is not, I don't see her as human, and she's not male, female, but that's just the energy I got from it or her was female in a purple ball. So I accept it. I mean, that's my master guide. So literally, and this is not just for mediums to connect. Everybody can do this. It's just don't dismiss what you receive. And I know that probably took about 30 minutes longer than it should have.
No.
No, absolutely. And if I could just add to that, because I know we have this thought like, spirit guides have to be, somebody that we don't know. But I mean, I consider my grandmother, a spirit guide for me. That's who's there. So I do feel that she's one. Do I have a Native American one too? Sure. But I mean, spirit guides could also be your family on the other side, just looking over you. But
yep.
Yeah.
And be aware they change out depending on where you are on your life path.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. A good friend who has now left the chat room, he's had about 13 in his life. Mm-hmm. And his last one has lasted 10 years. And he's kind of scary. But so a dear friend once told me, and this is for everybody, is that when you ask somebody when you're telling people about yourself, and you say, my guide's name is Jack, and you just think, you go along the ways. Well, at some point somebody may get the idea that, want to give you, if you do not tell your person that you're doing, keep the name of your guide to yourself. That's your personal connection with them. because if somebody's really going to connect with your spirit guide, example, if LJ was going to really connect with my spirit guide and said, Darlene, your spirit guide has got this really weird name, and it's, we're going to go Onyx. And nobody else in the world knows that, then yes, then I know if my spirit guide's name is Onyx, then I know you've actually connected. So if you go for a reading and if somebody says, I'm connecting to your spirit guide, always remember, never feed a medium or a psychic or anybody else for that matter, unless it's actual food, so that you know. But yeah, your spirit guide is not always, and like Michael says, don't always wait for that big ta-da, that big, clap of thunder and lightning. It could be that tiny little raindrop that falls on your nose, that little feather, that there's always something. So, watch out for the little signs, not just the big ones. And I think Robin Williams would be your joy guide. Hello, Robin. Robin is a good guy.
I got to share this really quick.
Shoot, go ahead.
Since my sister's passing, I'm always telling her, I want to see you. I need to see you. You need to I want to see you in some way. So, and it's not because of a ta-da trick or anything like that. It's just to satisfy the human side of it. I've said this before, and it's on my site, that I never actually physically met my sister in this life. It's a long story. So, I've always missed that. So I've repeatedly asked her, and she's repeatedly told me, you don't need it. It's hard. It takes a lot of energy, and, you can hear me, blah, blah, blah. Several readings I've had with other mediums, and the most recent one, literally, this medium looked at me and said, your sister wants me to tell you this, and you need to listen. Your sister says she is not going to pop light bulbs for you. She's not going to jump out around the corner and, blah, blah, blah. She said, she sends you signs, and they're subtle, and you know this. And she said, your sister sends you doves, and she sends you butterflies. And I'm like, I know she's there. But literally, I left the reading. I go out of my office. I go out into the living room. I look out the big window into the front yard, and what is sitting there? There was a dove sitting square in the middle of the yard looking at me, and I was like, got it. I was just like, so even me, and I think, I'm still human. You still want that human connection. But, you got to appreciate the subtleties and don't dismiss the signs that you're getting. I always tell people this. If you get a feeling and you're like, wow, that reminds me of so-and-so, don't try to dismiss that. More than likely, it's them.
Yeah. The moment you thought about them, that's a confirmation that it is them. Yeah.
So.
Very true.
See, I cannot keep my mouth shut. I got to babble.
That's okay.
You're fine. And if I can post in here later, that would be great, because I do have a great meditation, Deb, if you're interested, and you can just sit and you meditate, and it's guided, and it can take you, and you can meet your spirit guides. So it's very cool. I did that when I first started out. I used a lot of guided aids, and I was able to meet my spirit guide that way as well.
Well, Deb, if you have me on Facebook or one of the other, Michael or LJ on Facebook, LJ posted in the event, and so this way everybody can get a chance, because what stays in the chat room doesn't stay in the chat room. It gets deleted and erased, and it's just
okay, I'll do that.
So if we post it into the event, or just post it on my page. I'm all about sharing, so post away. First off, I'm going to take a quick moment and say hello to Cheryl, Debbie, got two Debbies, Juanita, Scott, Sheila, Supernatural Radio, also known as Ms. DeWinter, the Purple Plates Lady, Tracy Kavanaugh, and about half a dozen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guests. 6 guests. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely evening. And if anybody was late, don't worry about it. You know how my schedule works. I'm always late and starting anyway. Great. Debbie says, thank you, LJ. She'll find it.
Okay. You're welcome.
Okay. There was a question that I had, and y'all are going to figure this out. I'm kind of ditzy at times and forget where I put my thing. Okay. Now, some of the questions I ask are not because I want to know them. It's because a lot of people out there want to know them. and they're just not here to ask. Okay. So, do you have to be in the same room with the person to get the people on the other side? Do you have to be in the same room with the person to get their people on the other side to get your attention? Or do you or can you do it from like Skype?
Oh yeah, so not everything has to be in person. That is a good question because a lot of people think, oh my goodness, I need to have an in-person reading, otherwise it's not going to work. That's not true. You can do Skype, you can do phone. Spirit's going to come through no matter what. So it's in person, but it doesn't matter. You could do it anywhere. Spirit, they'll find a way and they'll find the medium to deliver those messages to you. So no, you don't have to be in the same room. At least that's how I work.
Michael?
Yep, I definitely agree.
Okay.
Energy's energy. You know, we have to look at it as not being in a physical body. You know, there's no restrictions. They're there. They can be anywhere. They can be in multiple places at once. You know, so definitely don't need to be sitting in front of the person.
Okay. Do you ever find that your connection with spirit, I can't, but it's not the exact words that I'm thinking of, but interferes with your everyday life? Okay, like for example, LJ, you're from New York, you know, and everybody hears of the Long Island medium and what they see on TV. Okay, so that she's always on, you know, we're going to put it always on call, which is just TV. But do you guys find that spirit is like you're sitting in a restaurant and spirit gets to you? Does that connect? Does that happen to you guys? And if so, how do you deal with that?
As far as for how it works for me is I've set boundaries because, well, first when you're younger and you don't even know what's going on, and then you realize it's spirit and they're there in the restaurant, they're there, you know, at the mall, they're there everywhere. So I've learned with training in classes to just set my boundaries so they know now when I sit down in the office and I'm ready to work. Are they always there? Sure, but it's not that I'm in that mode like I have to go deliver these messages. It's kind of like we've kind of made an agreement. I've made an agreement with spirit, so to speak. So that's how it works for me. I just set boundaries with them.
Michael?
Yeah, I'm oblivious to anything going on around me, and that includes humans when I'm out and about. So I can ignore both sides pretty easily, but literally unless I'm sitting down and focusing on channeling, there's been a few times where a spirit is very persistent, and there's usually a very good cause for it, and that's happened. But for 99% of the time, I'm oblivious to anything going on unless it takes a lot of concentration for me to be able to connect. So I definitely have to sit down and just be in that mode, so I could go about my daily business and be just fine. Okay. I think a TV too brings a lot of, fiction into it too.
Yes.
People think that, I see spirits or mediums see spirits like they, walking down the street, and there are people that actually see spirit as physical people. Mm-hmm. I don't, and a good majority of mediums and psychics, everything's internal. We see it through our mind's eye. At least that's how it works for me. So, nope, I can have a normal life. Well,
yeah, I do. I mean, because I the other day I'm just saying, like sitting at the hair salon, and people want readings once they know you're a medium, or they're at a barbecue when they want it. But we have to look at it as this is sacred work. So I'm at a barbecue right now. I'm not trying to bring through anybody's grandmother. So I've kind of just made that clear because you do need to live your own life. You can't always be in that dimension.
And I have a good joke for those people that walk up to you. If they know you're a medium and say, who do you see around me? And I've told this to LJ, I think, before. I just tell people that are mediums, when you have that experience, just start describing the Grim Reaper. Say, yeah, I see this man behind you. He's about 6 feet tall. He's wearing this black robe, and he's got this, I think it looks like a sickle. And he's looking at his watch, and he's telling me to tell you to see you next Tuesday at noon. And just leave it at that and see what they say. So that'll cure that really quick.
Eric in the chat room, welcome back, Eric, says we have to remember we all work with spirit, never for spirit.
That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Is there ever been somebody who comes to you for a reading or a connection that you just haven't been able to connect, and how do you deal with that?
Did you want to go first, LJ?
You could go first. That's okay. I feel like I took over the last two.
Definitely happens. This is, I really do not look at spirit as different from us. The only difference is we have a physical body. So the analogy I like to give is, not everybody likes me. As hard as that is to believe, even spirit, they may not like my energy. They may not want to talk to me or through me. And at the beginning, it's a little disheartening because you think it's you. But as you start to work with this, you understand that they're the same as us. They have their personalities, So keep that in mind. I don't take it personal anymore. If I cannot connect with the person sitting across, and there could be a myriad of reasons. Say it was a suicide's a good example. I've had people that they're not ready to come through for their loved one. Maybe they're still dealing with the guilt of, what they did. So they're not ready to talk about it. Maybe it's so personal that they don't want me to relay the message. So, it's endless, but I don't take it personal anymore, and I just understand that's the way it goes. And the other thing too, you got to realize is, it's a three-way thing when you're channeling. Your energy, the spirit, and the person sitting across, all three of those got to kind of line up in order for things to flow. So, if something's kind of out of whack, that could be a reason. And when it does happen to me, I just tell the person, hey, look, sorry, I'm not connecting with anybody, and, I try to recommend somebody else for them to go to. And I explain that this sometimes happens, I can't have spirit on demand. If they want to talk through me, they do, and if not, that's their choice. So that's how I look at it.
Exactly. And I always I always tell them in the beginning of a reading too, because one, it could be that the sitter's not ready to hear from that person. It could be that spirit's not ready either, or it could be that I'm just not the right medium. So, I just feel like it's always meant to be at the right time, and sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes it does. But I just recently gave a reading, and the woman goes, wow, I've always wanted to hear from my cousin, and nobody was able to bring her through before. And she comes back to me and she's like, well, I think I know why my cousin chose to come through you, because you look exactly like her little sister. She showed me, it was like, you look exactly like her. So maybe she was just drawn to me, but spirit's going to go through the medium when they're ready to get that message to their loved one.
Yeah, true. And as you were saying before, Michael, that not everybody sees spirit in the physical sense, but Eric Glynn in the chat room, unfortunately, does get to see spirit in the physical sense, and that includes his spirit guide, Teddy, who wants to have his own show. He's got a very bright and shiny personality, and they're also very welcome guests into my chat room at all the times. So yes. Supernatural Radio also agrees that she does recommend other mediums when she can't connect. So it's good to know, and I like that about our community, that our community of light workers, whatever you want to call yourselves, that if we have enough friends, shall we say, that the connection, we know enough mediums, enough psychics, enough healers, enough everything, that if one person can't do it, we always know somebody who can.
Right. And it's about helping. It isn't about being selfish and hoarding, your clients to yourself. That's how I look at it. It's like, no, the bottom line, the most important thing is for that person seeking help to get help. That should be the first thing to be considered, period.
Yeah. Have either of you ever done any paranormal investigations?
Say that again?
Paranormal investigations.
No, I can't say I have.
Um, I have, and this was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Literally when I first started, I should say when I tiptoed out of the closet and kind of let people know what I was doing. At one of my gallery readings, a person approached me because she was having activity in her restaurant. She wondered if I could take a look. I'm like, and I explained up front, I was like, look, I've never done this, but I will go over with you and I'll see what happens. So we walk in, and well, actually, there's a little bit to that story, but bottom
Still.
line is there was activity, but there was a good reason. Turns out early in the day, throughout the day, I was getting contact with this person's grandfather. I had to ignore him like 3 times. The last time he finally told me is like, she has a gas leak in her restaurant. So when I eventually went over to the restaurant, I said, hey, your grandfather's been at me all day and he's, he showed me where this place was. There was a gas
Mm-hmm.
line behind the sink. She pulled the sink out. There it was. I said, your grandfather's telling me all day that there was a gas leak there. And lo and behold, the next day she had a gas company out and there was a leak right where her grandfather said. So I think the activity was kind of related to that because there was banging pots all around that area. So I think, it was him trying to get somebody's attention. This needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with doing something like that. So that was interesting. And it wasn't intentionally. It wasn't like I'm going on a ghost hunt.
Yeah.
It was just like, that's just curiosity. We'll see.
Exactly. Eric Glenn in the chat room, have either of the guests visited the higher side of life, out-of-body experience, trance, or astral travel?
Um,
Michael?
I've been asked that because I almost died at birth. And actually, and I obviously don't remember that, but a recent reading I had, it kind of got brought up that I may have, and it was one of my exit points that I never took. Do I have any conscious memory of it? No. Um, so, I guess I don't remember any of them. Out of body experiences,
Mm-hmm.
I have caught glimmers of astral travel, like either coming back or just leaving, but I jolt and it wakes me up. That's, but conscious, no. I'm sure that's what's going on when I feel like I've just dropped into my bed. So that's as close as I've gotten.
LJ?
As for me, I could just say I've had a few outer body experiences, but that's usually when I've been in deep meditation, or in sleep. But as far as trance, I've witnessed trance, not myself, but I have a mentor who does trance, so I've gotten to see that, and I have to say no to astral travel. So just outer body experiences for me, just a few times, maybe a handful, but pretty amazing experiences if you're able to.
Yeah. And out-of-body experience and near-death experience are two completely separate things for
Oh yeah.
those who are listening. And near-death experiences is when you have crossed over, but you're looking down at your body and you're saying, I could have lost a little bit of weight there. But you come back because what you're meant to do here has not been finished. So, gosh, that was a good one. Thank you. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to ask in caps if possible. If not, I'm gonna try paying attention to the. I've been doing a good job so far. Okay, let's see. Where's my list of questions? Has there ever been? Oops, hold on a second. How can you find out how many lives you have lived? Either one of you want to answer that one?
Um,
That's from Debbie.
LJ?
I'm not really sure how to answer that. I mean, probably with a past life regression. I don't know personally how many lives I've lived, and that's also another subject. People believe in all that, but I would have to say past life regression. But even with the amount that I've had a couple. No one really told me how many lives I've lived. They could explain, a little bit of what I've experienced in past lives, but I couldn't tell you how many lives I've lived. That's the truth. What about you, Michael? Tough.
I've also had a past life regression, and yeah, it never came up of how many I've had.
Right.
I don't think it really matters how many lives that you've had, because not only do you have the lives that you lived here on this planet, but many of us have had lives from other planets, and so you're not just one being, you know. And Eric Glenn in the chat room says, life is linear. That's continuity. There we go. Got to put a big word in there for me, didn't you have to, Eric? Right?
Okay.
I have a very dear friend who believes that this life that we're living now is a dream, and when we go to sleep, how does she put it? When we die in this life, we wake up from the dream in our other life. So that's her way of looking at it.
I heard that just yesterday.
Yeah. So this is so you could consider each life is this one is a dream, whether we like the dream or not. Sometimes we have our own dreams, and we can sit there and go, whatever's happening, you don't really like it. So, but when you wake up, like how all of a sudden you wake up with you feel like you're falling out of bed, and that's yourself coming back into your body. But that also could be you coming back into this life because you're not ready to wake up in your real life. If that makes any sense. It sounds a little complicated, but yeah. So that's one thing. And Scott in the chat room says, or it's like a stack of pancakes, and we're having all of them at once.
I like that. That's cute. I like pancakes.
So do I. I made them for breakfast this morning. Thanks, Scott. Except I eat one pancake at a time.
There you go. I love pancakes, especially Brenner. Not to get off topic now. You got me hungry, but pancakes for dinner are the best.
That's okay. This show, for some reason, always ends up getting involved with food. I even have a friend who does food readings, which is very interesting. I'm hoping that she'll come back on soon. Yeah, you tell her what your favorite food is, and she'll tell you all about yourself just from the food. And
well, it might be a long show if I sign on to that. Because I have a lot of favorite foods.
You have to pick one. You have to pick
Pizza.
Yeah, but you have to be specific.
Coffee.
You have to be specific about it.
Coffee.
Pizza, my daughter once put in Thanksgiving dinner, and she had to be specific about what she had, and it just showed, I can't remember exactly what the reading was, and but you had to be specific. A pizza would have to be like, what do you have on your pizza? What kind of the pizza, and you'd have to pick a picture, find a picture somewhere, and post it.
That's interesting.
I'm gonna try and get her back on. I know she's coming in at the end of next month, but she's got a new deck of cards that we're gonna unveil. But I want to get her back to do some food readings. Her name is Dorothy Holder. So if you ever get to see Dorothy Holder, please. She's on Monday night. She's on another station, Ghost Call Radio, and she has a show. But if you ever
all right, good.
see something,
so I have 1 month to pick one food. So that's good. I'll start narrowing it down.
Well, speaking of food, Cheryl's going to be right back because she's probably going to go make some food. Okay. And right now, see, you have to remember something about this show. It used to have, I used to have video, and when I would do the show, I have a adorable little Shih Tzu who likes to be on camera, and especially when Mommy's talking on thing, he knows after a while. He's like, okay, it's time for me to be up here on your lap and get to see all the people see me, and except he's on my lap going, how come I don't see myself in on the computer? On it, there's no more cameras. Okay. Tracy Kavanaugh says, I was there for the food show. She looks into consideration. She took into consideration the presentation, the fork, the plate, and the food. It's awesome. Yeah, she does. Debbie, can you guys see my blood pressure is dropping? Is it something you guys can do?
No, unfortunately.
No.
I don't really like looking into people's medical issues.
I am
I've done it,
looking
but
to
I don't like.
yeah. That's a whole other realm that a lot of people need to. Night, Eric. Eric's in the UK, so it's like 12:30.
6 hours
Yep.
ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost 1 o'clock. So Eric and Scott are over in the UK.
Yeah.
And as Scott says, any responsible healer will tell you to go see your doctor. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're concerned, definitely go get it checked out.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the thing is, working with traditional medicine and with healing of whatever form that we have as healers, you can't negate the fact that, we were given the knowledge to learn to
Mhm.
heal, but some people have a deeper and a different type of knowledge for healing, and you can't say no to going to your doctor and saying, hey, this is this. Let them work together, work them combined. Don't just take one without the other. This is my way of
Right.
looking at it,
Right.
So, Debbie, if you're having problems with your blood pressure, yes, definitely go see your doctor. And if you have somebody who works with you, speak with your doctor about natural healings and see what they think, because you'd be amazed at how many doctors and hospitals and the like are accepting natural healers these days.
Mhm.
It's called complementary healing. We work alongside with the orthodox healing in complement to them. So Debbie says yes, it's dropping and she has reduced her meds. Well, hopefully you're reducing your meds on your doctor's instruction and not just because you choose to. Okay. All right. Michael, you're married and
Mhm.
you have a daughter, if I'm correct. Uh, Lucky man, you have two lovely ladies in your life. What do they think about Michael the medium?
They run and hide. No. No.
How old is your daughter, if I can ask?
25. And she's
So she
actually
did.
a psychic medium herself, so she just came out of that closet with a little help from me.
Well, maybe you can send her over to my show, and we can talk about her dad.
Oh God, yeah, she'll talk about me, okay?
You say would be nice things about you.
Yeah. No. Um, no, but it's great because, this has been in our family a hobby, not a hobby, but before I even knew I could do this, it was been, something that we were always interested. Books, watching shows of John Edwards. So, basically when I figured out what was going on, they're all like, wow, this is like a kid in a candy store. Cause, what, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, hey, hold on. So no, everybody's been supportive. I've been lucky in that way. Um, but yeah, recently, cause I've known it. I mean, my daughter took a class not too long ago with my first teacher, Mimi, and even Mimi was saying, it's like, I definitely see your dad in you. So,
Not sure if that's a good
now
thing or
that,
not.
well, the mediumship way anyway. And she's got my
Mm-hmm.
attitude too, so that's a good thing. She doesn't
Oh,
take
Lord
poop
help.
off of nobody. But no, so we've worked together a little bit here and there and but now, I asked her recently about a week ago, I said, so, I have a Facebook page whenever you're ready. People, you could do practice readings. And she said yes, and I think immediately went on Facebook and posted, and it was like lighting up saying yes, me. So she's got takers to start practicing with. So.
Very good. LJ, what about your family?
So I'm married. I have a husband and I have a fur baby. So,
Oh.
Chip. So I have to say I've been very fortunate too to have a supportive family. My husband's very, very supportive. He's happy with what I do. You know, in the beginning, at first, sure, when we first start realizing, you know, I'm going to go take a mediumship class, you know, I would say maybe in the beginning was, oh, maybe she's just doing this as a hobby. Who knows? There was always a lot of coincidences with me. So a lot of things would happen, or I would predict something. And, you know, when you're not really sure what's going on, it was like, oh, that's just a coincidence, you know? And then more and more I started taking classes and was like, we're really onto something here. You know, I definitely feel like I have something. So he was always encouraging me, yeah, you want to go take that class, go take it. So very fortunate. So he comes to my events, my parents as well. You know, I do have some family members and friends that don't really understand it, and that's okay. They don't have to, but, you know, I have to say my immediate family, my parents and my husband are supportive. And Chip, if he sees me meditating or communicating with spirit, I can't understand it, but he'll run away. So I don't know how he feels about it, but other than that, I'm pretty fortunate.
Okay. Well, in the chat room, I have posted both your Facebook pages and your websites, but
Thank you.
nobody's going to get to hear the thing. So, Michael is www.michaelchristopher.org, and just look up Michael Christopher on Facebook. LJ is www.ljthemedium.com, and again, look up LJ on Facebook and Spine Spirit. Interesting name. Connect with them there. Listening. Oh, Juanita's cooking us dinner.
I know. I've seen that. Janita, what are you making?
Okay. We have a question from Scott. You describe yourself, this one will be Michael, as an evidential and a psychic medium.
Oh, we're both in this boat, and so is LJ.
What is the difference in how you work?
LJ, do you want to take that one first? I have my spin on this.
Oh, go for it, because we actually talked about it the other day, so go for it. I like how you explained it anyway.
All right. This is me personally. This is my story with this, okay? When I first started doing this, I was literally dubbed an evidential medium. I'm like, well, what is that? You know, because I had the same question, what's the difference between that and any other medium? Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that the honest truth is I have no idea, you know. But what people had told me right from the beginning was just the evidence and the information I bring through is so specific that's, I guess, the boat I was thrown into. It's like, you're an evidential medium. I don't work with symbols. So, you know, you'll see a lot of mediums work with symbols. Example, John Edward, you know. What's that?
I said, like me, I work a lot with symbols.
Yeah.
I don't
know,
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think there's any difference. You know, I do not like titles. I don't like labels. That's just me. To me, you do what you do. You know, really with that title, it puts a lot of pressure on you because, you know, people look at, well, you're an evidential medium, so you must get like everything. I'll tell you right up front, no, I do not. I can only give you what they give me or what I'm able to interpret. So however that comes out, it comes out, you know. So, you know, I joke that title is something that's going to get me in trouble. But, you know, I can only go by what people, you know, the people that have sat on the other side of a reading from me, really fully answer that. Am I evidential? I mean, I guess I am.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with what we're taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you learned from people themselves that call themselves evidential medium, well, that's kind of what you're learning, and that's how you're going to associate yourself with. I mean, in my readings, I do bring through evidence, but I don't associate with the name evidential. So I think it's whatever people feel called to. I think more, if I'm mistaken, just correct me, Michael, but I feel evidence is more like facts. You know, I feel like also psychic mediums, we say we could talk about what's going on now, or there could be predictions. So, I mean, when we're talking about the spirit world, I feel evidential is just a lot of evidence coming through. I've seen a lot of mediums work, and they'll just bring through, this is what they look like, this is how they pass, but then there'll be like no messages with that. So I just feel everybody reads different, but we're all communicating with spirit if you're a medium. How about that?
And Debbie's asking, can you give an example of that if you don't use symbols? Okay.
Oh.
For me, I'll just this is kind of one of my favorites. I was doing a reading for this person one day, and one of the things that this person's grandfather came through with was, he's laughing and he says, talk to her about the ceiling fan. And he wouldn't tell me why, but he's just like, ask her. So I asked the person, said, okay, your grandfather's talking about a ceiling fan. Do you have a ceiling fan in your house? And she just looked at me like, oh my God. She goes, me and my friend just spent like 2 hours installing a ceiling fan, and it was like just watching two, inexperienced people trying to put this up. So the grandfather was showing me that he was there with them watching it, So, I mean, I've done, quite a few by now, but it's kind of like a theme with me that they like to show me what's going on at that time. They'll take me to the house. They'll show me stuff that they've seen the recipient do around the house or where they've been. So basically I just get it straight from them. Whatever they're showing me, telling me, I just spew that out, and that's kind of how it works. I don't really put too much thought into it. I just go with it. One funny one, I'll share this real quick because this just happened like last week. I had a spirit come through. It was a dad, and one of the things he shows me was a jar of peanut butter. I'm like, what's this peanut butter? In my mind, if I was in my head, we're going, okay, peanut butter? Yeah, right. No, I'm not going to go with this. So I'm like, what's with the peanut butter? Again, he was like laughing. He was just tell her about the peanut butter. So I look at this woman. I said, do you understand the reference to the peanut butter? And she just looked up and starts immediately laughing because what the dad did was on the son's prom night, he took a jar of peanut butter and started spreading it around the manifold of the car. So she knew exactly what that meant. So I'm like, okay, there you go.
Oh, that's gotta smell icky.
He did it for the experience, the smell.
Yeah. And LJ, you said you work with symbols. How do you
explain
that
a lot of times I do get symbols. I mean, I have a knowing, so like I might just know something. I try and feel, so I have a lot of feeling. I am clairvoyant, so I do see kind of like a little bit of a movie screen. But a lot of times, sometimes I'll just see like if it's a quick image, so every time now, like if I see like a flag, I know that person was in the military. If I see flowers, I know that there's a celebration. If I see champagne glasses, I know that it's an anniversary. So sometimes I might not hear anniversary or feel it, but sometimes it's just a quick image. And if it comes up more than one, if it comes up 3 times for me, I take it that that's my symbol for what it is. So if Spirit's showing me champagne glasses, I will automatically know that it is an anniversary or a milestone and whatever other symbols. But it takes a lot of time, especially when you're working like that, because you can just get an image and you might not know what the heck it is. And just like Michael said, you could be shown peanut butter, not necessarily that a peanut butter has to mean something, as long as it means something to the sitter. But yeah, I do get a lot of symbols. But a lot of them repeat, so you kind of grow to know what they are after a while.
Okay. Debbie says that's awesome. Thanks. I get it now, and that has happened to me in some of my readings that I have been given. Tracy Kavanaugh in the chat room. My ex-mother-in-law of 32 years passed away recently. I know she is with me and trying to communicate with me. I'm having mixed feelings. Is there any way that one of you might know what she's trying to tell me?
I mean, I could sit here for a second and see if I connect with her, but.
No, that's your. If that connection is to be made, then that connection will be made, and if it's not,
I mean, we can still keep talking and all that, but
Yeah, if you want to, that's fine. If you want to feel into it, I just a lot of it has to do with trust. And actually kind of just sitting down, not necessarily meditating, but just kind of trying to take a moment and seeing if she is there. And sometimes, we could not even being a medium, you can sit and communicate with your loved ones and see what it is that they're trying to communicate with you. You can ask for signs. You can talk to them. You might not get an answer right away. Maybe it takes a little bit. Maybe it takes a week. But you can also communicate with your ex-mother-in-law, especially knowing what those signs are. And having those mixed feelings, just trusting that what you are receiving is in fact what she's giving you.
Is there, we're going to let Michael continue, Steve. Pop in every time you're ready, Michael. Is there anybody that you will not read for?
No. I will read to anybody that comes through or comes to me.
LJ?
Yeah, so I have limitations on family members. But I'll read for anyone, but sometimes with family, I do find it a little bit harder, and I don't want to get into my own personal feelings or logic brain and everything. So read for anyone, but very cautious about what family members I would read for.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, same with me with family. I wasn't even thinking about that part. Yeah, that family is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know too much.
Yeah, that's why when I do readings for friends, I always preface the readings with, well, because I do know you, but this is what I'm getting, and because I work with a tool, I work with my cards, and that's how I work with that.
With Tracy, let me just ask this, because Tracy, did your mother-in-law pass the cancer? Because what I'm getting is cancer, and I'm also getting like a reference to perfume. Like she's telling me that you smell the perfume in the house. Does that make sense to you?
Juanita says family members are hard for her as well.
Yeah.
There's about a 30-second delay. She's typing right now. And I'm keeping my mouth zipped because I do know Tracy personally, so I'm just keeping my lips zipped. It does. Her cancer was controlled, I think. That's Tracy's answer. Perfume, yes.
What she's telling me is just that you don't trust what you're getting from her, because she's telling me she's trying to communicate with you. She's sending you signs, but you're doubting it, and that's what I'm feeling from her. And she's also making me feel like your husband is also sensing her presence, but he isn't talking about it. Do you know if that makes sense? Because what I'm feeling is she just wants to be acknowledged. That's the strong feeling I'm getting with her. Is she just wants to be acknowledged. And even now she's going, finally, someone's listening to me.
Okay, she's typing. I'm going through a sloppy divorce. She is who I miss the most through all of this. Wow, it's hard to keep my tongue bit.
Well, what I'm feeling too, and she's bringing up the responsibility like Tracy may think. I'm getting a sense that, hold on, let me see what she's saying it takes two to tango. So what I'm feeling from her is like, don't accept 100% responsibility for what is happening, is the strong feeling I get with her.
She says she was served with legal papers keeping her from the mother-in-law's funeral. Her ex-husband did that.
And if you're worried about how she's going to think of you and feel about you, she's telling right now it's like you're always a daughter to her, and that will never change. And she's bringing up the dream. She's mentioning specifically a dream that you've had about her, and she's like, that's not a dream. That was actually me. I was there. So have you had a very vivid dream about her recently? And I feel like she's telling me right now, like she's told you this stuff before. Like she has told you about the feeling she has for you and about you. I'm really feeling that came through in what you think is a dream.
She's typing. Several dreams, then yes, she feels loved.
And she keeps bringing up a dog, so I don't know where the dog reference is. If she had a small dog, but I'm seeing this small dog. And I feel it's either, she's showing me like she's got a little small dog with her.
I love time delays.
I know, I'm sitting here waiting too.
I get to see it says she's typing. I would like to have you guys back again at another time. I am hoping to have an all reading show. So I think I may have a couple of psychic mediums. So if you guys are interested, we'll talk about that as well. Because a lot of people seem to be interested in hearing from you. Tracy says, we have always had big dogs, but my ex took my pup with him. Juanita says, I saw her with some dogs. That is funny. I'm saying Juanita is Janita. Sorry.
But she is just saying, I mean, she's starting to pull back her energy now because she's like, I don't want to take up too much time, literally is what she's saying. She just says that, you know, she always loves you, she always will, and you're her daughter. Simple is that. You are and you always will be her daughter.
Aww.
And always remember, just because you didn't actually go to the funeral where all the la-di-da procession.
And I got to say this real quick, because as soon as you said about the funeral, I don't know what she was or how, literally what I heard her say, let that shit go, it's not important. So I don't know if she had that kind of language, but that's what I heard. Let that shit go.
Chicas, on my show.
I wonder why they
I'm
came
sorry.
to us. Maybe
I don't edit spirit when they give it to me like that. It's like, sorry, she's getting it just like I heard it.
It's not a bad word.
I'll say poo poo next time.
Aww.
So
That it
sounds
like her.
Sounds like her.
Aww.
So, yeah.
Aww.
And Janita says, good job, guys. We're proud of you. LJ and Mike.
Aw, thank you,
She's
Janita.
not proud of me.
Love you, LJ. Love you, Janita.
Aww.
But yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who, when there's separation of states, divorces, things happen, and you not getting to the, as I called it. Scott says, Michael, please don't say poo poo. It's far worse. When you didn't get to go to what I call the official funeral, and I understand it. It's not. She wasn't there. She's with you in your heart, and you know, and everything that Michael told you is just a confirmation of everything you already know, as far as I'm concerned. But that's my way of looking at it. Which I'll tell you next week when you come see me to pay for your gas. She's one of my customers and a good friend at work, so.
But she felt like a very heavy presence. It's like what I felt about her was like she didn't take any business from anybody. I felt a very strong woman. That's the energy I felt from her.
Tracy said she sat with her in her bed before they came to pick her up.
Wow.
Janita, it's my privilege to be having everybody on my show. This is what my show is about, is making sure that The dancing dog stops humping my hand. And Tracy says, "You're very strong woman."
Oh, good. Thank you for that confirmation, Tracy.
Yeah. And Supernatural Radio says, "Is there an Emily somewhere?" I love when I have a room full of mediums and psychics. It's fun. One of my hopes for this show is that everybody who comes on, and even those who aren't on but still want to come on, this is a platform to allow you to shine. Sometimes we want to get readings from Michael or from LJ or from Supernatural Radio, but I like people to get to know. I like to get to know the people who I'm going to get my readings from. So, it's not just, pick a name out of a phone book and go, I think I'll just, this name looks interesting. Let's go over there and see Michael and see what he says. This way you get to know the people that are out there. And I like, for my friends to be able to, whether they're my friends and admit it or not, it's a whole different story. So you get to know who you're talking to.
Right.
And who's giving you your reading, because sometimes you can get a reading from somebody. I have a woman who is she's a psychic medium. I'm not sure what the difference is in the English and French version, and I've always said she was one of the reasons why I started shows like this, is because she is as a person, when she comes to where I work, she is very abrupt and very and not in a nice way. She's rather rude, and I would not want to go to her for a reading because she's not an easy person to like. Now I know for me, but I guess there are people out there who will go to her because she the way she is, but I couldn't because of the way I know her. So this is what I do with this show, is I allow people to get to know who you are. Good Lord.
Thank you. No,
that's
awesome.
important.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Tracy in the chat room says she flashed the lights in my dining room the other day, the day that she was served the papers. And Supernatural Radio mentioned the name Emily, and Tracy said the woman my husband left me for is Emily, which is not bad. Yeah.
I just wanted to answer Debbie's question, if it's okay. She said, tomorrow will we be able to see you both? So Debbie, the answer is yes. Michael and I are going to be having a online event on Zoom. So for those of you that don't know, if it's okay if I say this here.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So you can go on Eventbrite and purchase tickets. And if it's okay, we could post the link in the group page. Yep. So we're going to be doing that. You'll be able to see us, Debbie, because it's going to be live and it's going to be on Zoom. And we'll do a little bit about what we talked about tonight, just about Michael being the kidney recipient and myself being a donor, because it's also to raise awareness. And we're also fundraising for the National Kidney Foundation. But you'll definitely be able to see us on Zoom.
I will comb my hair just for you.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Yeah, because we just dull down that shine, because when I first saw you on Skype there, it was like shiny. It's like, woo-ha! All right, I'm trying. Aw. LJ, by the way, your puppy is adorable.
Oh, thank you so much. He's my baby.
Okay.
He's too silly.
Let's see. I'm going to read from the Facebook event, everybody. Actually, this is Winterbrook Ryan. It says, hey, everyone, check this out. One of my dearest friends and students, LJ, is doing a demonstration of mediumship with her colleague, Michael, to raise funds and awareness about kidney donation. Many may remember when we were praying and sending healing to LJ as she donated a kidney to save another person's life. It is on, let's see, what is it? Zoom is on Monday evening. It doesn't tell me what time, 7 to 9 p.m. I think that's Eastern Standard Time. But Zoom is something that you get to download. It's free. Go download it. I have, LJ is a new friend in my craziness, but, Michael would not have suggested her as a guest on my show. And I wouldn't have accepted if it wasn't, if it didn't feel right. So, yeah, So go check out their show and download Zoom. Connect with LJ and Michael, and they can let you know how to get into the show. And how much was the show tickets?
It's $20 on Eventbrite and tickets.
There you go, $20, which is not a lot, and considering that the donation that it goes to, get to it. And Scott, as a recipient of a kidney, do you ever wonder if you will get, hold on a second, psychometry from it?
Psychometry from it. That's funny because, me and my kidney donor, and I got to give a shout out to Stan, we're both in the Air Force. He's still active duty. Actually, he just got deployed, so he's been over in the desert for the last 2 months. So they tagged him for a 6-month deployment in his last year of service. When he gets back, he retires in May after 30 years in the Air Force. So both him and I are air traffic controllers. We know each other really well. We both are bald. The similarities are, it's crazy. It's like people actually thought we were brothers. He's a little bit taller than me. But he asked that too. He goes, do you get any of the cravings or anything? I was like, no, because, he used to smoke. And I was like, no. So I don't get anything with psychometry from the kidney. I think because we were already so similar, it's scary. When they did the test for the kidney, it was actually, I matched better with Stan than I did my birth brother, if that tells you anything. So you talk about, something that was meant to be. There you go.
So funny. I was about to add to that though, because my recipient actually we've experienced that. She says that she never ate chocolate or sweets or brownies, and I love brownies. And so she now has that craving. And she also said since having my kidney, she has dreams of someone in spirit that she was very close to. So she asked me about dreams, and one day she kind of knew a little bit about what I did, and she goes, "Can I ask you a crazy question?" And I'm thinking, oh, well, it can be crazy. And she goes, "I've been having dreams of, my mother, and I've been having, is that part of like what you do?" And I understood exactly, and she never had those dreams or visitations, she said before, and the chocolate. So it's so funny how it's so different for everybody, right, Mike?
Yeah. And I got to share this really quick. I know I talk a lot. It took me about a year or so after the this was only within the last year. I think I told Stan what I did. And he was like, "Why did you think I would not accept it?" And I was like, "You never know." But I think the most rewarding thing I've done, one of the most rewarding, was channeling his mom for him.
Well, you are part of her family.
I get choked up still.
Even if it's just a kidney, it's still being part of the family. So yeah, very nice. Well, we're almost out of time. Again, if y'all want to, let's see if I can get this up. www.ljthemedium.com and www.michaelchristopher.org. Those are the websites to my guests. If you want to find them on Facebook, just type in LJ and Michael Christopher. And I was looking for LJ, and as far as I know, she's the only LJ on Facebook. Nobody else has gone there.
That's right.
And so figure that out, people. Great people. And sign up for tomorrow if you can. Join into their Zoom broadcast, and the money goes to a very good cause near and dear to both of their hearts and kidneys. So, yeah, thank you both very, very much, and I'm really glad that you, Michael, you did a good one here. Thanks for bringing LJ in on this one.
Absolutely.
And like I said, anytime either one of you want to come back, you're more than welcome. If you have anything that you want to promote.
You're getting us as a pair. We're not separating. You're getting the two of us or none of us.
We're attached at the kidneys.
There you go. A quick shout out to everybody in my chat room. Cheryl, Debbie, and Janita, Scott, Sheila, Supernatural Radio, Tracy Kavanaugh, and the half a dozen guests. Thank you all for coming to the show. Everybody is welcome back every week. I believe next week we have, let's see if I can get this. I have Donna Raven Rooks, and we're going to do a meditation, a live meditation, 1 hour meditation, and a discussion after the show, after the meditation. And that's it. So, and hopefully it won't take me as long to get into the show again. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
It was fun. It was a blast. Everybody, good night. Y'all behave yourselves.
Good night.
And we'll see you again soon.
Good night. Thank you.